What is going on, guys? Matt Downs with Daily Grind Fantasy Sports here to give you the edge for this MMA 13 fight slate on DraftKings. Cannot wait to break it down. If you guys are brand new to this channel, we provide both free and paid content for all daily fantasy sports across all sports. If you could please show your support by hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, and of course smashing that like button for all of our future MMA content. If you would like to know more about becoming a better DFS player and taking down that big GPP, head over to www.dgfantasy.com. On dgfantasy.com, we give you cheat sheets for every major sport, along with ownership projections, actual projections, and strategy for every single slate. We also cover optimal cash plays as well as preferred GPP plays and stacks for specific contest sizes. We do the dirty work for you. We are also currently partnered with Fantasy Cruncher, the best optimizer in the industry. When signing up for our $30 package, you also get a $20 credit to use towards any Fantasy Cruncher product. We provide the best value in the industry. Now let's go ahead and dive right into this MMA 13 fight slate, as always, with Kevin. Kevin, ready to talk about this?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's do the breakdown for last card first.
Okay, so last card first. Interesting card, Matt. You know, we the takedown streak had to end at some point, but I still think we did pretty damn solid all around. My big thing, I don't know if you remember me saying this, Matt, on this slate was I think it's going to be a studs and duds kind of night, and I'm not sure if it's necessarily was the optimal, but I know the number one person in my contest. It was?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say the number one person in my contest didn't have any 8K pricing. So
Yep.
is that the optimal?
Yeah, so it's Jackson, Blanchfield, sorry.
I'm butchering pricing with them too.
94.
95, 94 for those
94.
Ones, right?
Cutabella, 9,000. Wrong. 76. Harris, 73. And Nate, 7,000.
Yeah.
And from the looks of it, holy, yeah, okay. It was a very chalky lineup. So I don't even care. I don't even want to really look at the slate because it looks like it's a chalk pretty much. I mean, the ownership wise, the lowest ownership was Nate, and he was 21.5%.
Yeah.
So.
It was pretty chalky, but I mean, we talked about this, Matt. We said it was going to be a studs and duds night.
Right.
We avoided just about everybody in the 8K pricing, and yeah, I mean, real quick, we'll just go through the fights. Goldie, I said, was yellow. She got the first round sub, which was nice, but not the optimal. Lopez and Alatang, I said, was yellow. Didn't make the optimal. Obviously, Harris next was a punt love lister, and he absolutely made the optimal.
Yes.
I said Blanchfield was live. Did not expect her to have that pace. I gave her a green, I think, but my goodness, she absolutely scored off the charts. What she score, Blanchfield?
Yeah, we gave her a yellow because of the ownership, because we noticed it was higher than it should have been. That's the only reason.
That's what it was.
But still.
Yep. And she was very expensive, 9,400 on a 15
exactly. All those reasons we gave her a yellow. Yep.
What'd she score?
She scored
really
126. Is that
she
right?
Popped. She did awesome. Yeah, she did really well. I wish I had more of her. Price tag scared me, but she did awesome. Jackson was green for his scoring ability in a decision. He smoked with 4 takedowns, 4 knockdowns. I think JP Buys has been knocked down like 7 times in the 2 UFC fights he's had now, which has to be like a record, and I'm not kidding. Like, getting a knockdown and not finished is like, it's rare. Most fights don't have, I'd say most fights don't have a knockdown. You know what I mean? And he has been knocked down, I think, 7 times in 2 fights. So what did Jackson score?
Jackson scored second highest on the slate, 131.29.
Yeah. It was a ridiculously high scoring slate.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, Jackson was awesome. And then I said wrong. I'm guessing that was the next.
Yep.
Was he the high score? Yeah, I watched
by
him
far, 146.
in my cash line. I was just watching him fight like, yes. It's like watching your running back get like 3 touchdowns. It was just like, he just kept taking him down, beating the shit out of him, and he looked awesome. So
Aaron Jones the other night, yep.
Yeah, fuck Aaron Jones. I've never had him, and I'm always playing against him. He's doing like a 49-point game. And then I don't play against him when he's got like a 4-point
it's because of the touchdowns every single time.
It's so frustrating, and I've said this every time. And like, but the thing is, I guess here's where I was wrong about Aaron Jones, Matt. Not to make it a football thing, but like, I always say, I'll take the consistent guys, not the touchdown guys. But if Aaron Jones is consistently getting 3 touchdowns, I guess that makes him consistent. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Does.
Like, it's not like it's been 3 years of this shit. I think you got to give it to him. Like, this is just what he does. Like,
yeah. Well, again, I always go back, and not to make this football, but this will be the last thing I say. It always goes back to the Green Bay offense as a whole. It's never just Aaron Jones. You throw Aaron Jones on any below average team, he's not doing that, period. In my opinion.
100%.
So.
No, I agree. I couldn't agree more. But yeah, so Jackson was green, did great. Wrong was green, did great. Oh, Matt, this is fun. We get to address that idiot in
I
our
was
chat.
gonna do it during the middle. I was gonna make a joke in the middle of the breakdown, but yeah, we can go ahead and do it.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we'll just for some context. I think last video, because I didn't talk about the Pennington and Kianzad fight, just because I didn't talk about it, obviously get labeled as sexist because that's today's community. If you just do anything that's objective, but as against the norm, I guess you're a sexist or whatever you are.
I mean, it's not backed up by stats or anything. So yeah, again, you are
not backed by
sexist.
stats. I mean, this isn't a DFS channel, Matt.
No.
This is a Fields channel, apparently. I mean, but it's ridiculous. Guys, we have one primary goal here, and that's profit. Is that not the goal of DFS?
Yep.
DFS is fun. We love doing it, but we want to profit. I don't have anything against any fighter in the UFC except maybe Derek Lewis, that fat bitch, and Conor McGregor.
Wait, what was the other one? The Ben Roethlisberger looking version? It's not.
Fuck Ben Rothwell. Ben Rothwell.
That too.
He can eat a dick and die. I do have something against Ben Rothwell. I hate that fucking guy. Anyway, so yeah, no, he can die. But there is a difference between thinking with your heart and thinking with what. Like, one of my best friends is a professional fighter right now, Matt. And he is, if he was on this card tonight, I would say don't do shit. He is the worst paced fighter I've ever seen in my life. Like, it's not a feelings thing. It's a production thing. Long story short, Pennington, who I didn't talk about, was the winner of the fight and may actually have been the lowest scoring winner on the card. She literally might. What did Pennington score in a win?
Pennington, she didn't score the worst on the card. I will say that, Kevin.
As a winner,
so
she didn't?
As a winner, she did not.
Okay.
There was Lopez who scored 52.
He didn't win.
He didn't.
I think that was a draw.
Oh, well, that's what it was. Okay, fine. Hold on. Let me make sure. If we nailed, okay. 5-2. I'm making sure that she was. Hold on. I'm making sure that she was the lowest score as a winner. Yep. So I'm taking that. I'm 1000% taking that and running with it, Kevin. That was a huge W. I'm so glad you didn't talk about that. I'm so glad that guy called you sexist, and I'm so glad you make him look like a complete idiot after that. So glad.
I mean,
yep, that is the worst scoring winner.
I didn't talk about lowest scoring winner. What are we doing here? Like, what she score as a winner?
58.
58. That's the worst. That might be the worst score I've ever heard of for a winner. Like, dude, what are we doing here? All right, I'm getting fired up. Let's move past it. We'll go to this next card. So yeah. Moving on, we have the UFC 266. This is going to be an absolute banger. Amazing fights on this card. Absolutely amazing fights. We have Jonathan Pierce versus Omar Moraes to start the card. Fight one is going to have a green and yellow to start. I like Pierce as the underdog. I think with his takedown potential, he can score quite well because of it. He has a wrestling background, Matt. We know this. We finally got to see it on display against another wrestler in Kai Kamaka. I don't think Pierce is the best fighter in the world, but he can score well, so I got to give him a green and a live for that, as he does have the power to put people away as well. Moraes, Matt, is just an overall good fighter. 1-0 in Bellator, 1-0 in the Contender Series, 3-1 in the UFC, with his only loss being to a very tough and undefeated Giga Chikadze. I don't love how he scores, especially on a 13-fight slate. So that's the only reason for me Moraes is going to be yellow on that, just mostly for his pace. And I think he should win this fight, but I don't know. It's a decent bargain for his pricing. Like, I just talked up Jonathan Pierce, but I do think Moraes wins this fight. Like, it's hard to get Jonathan Pierce. Like, I love Joe Lozon. He's my old jiu-jitsu coach. Joe Lozon was old and washed up when he fought Jonathan Pierce, and he beat the brakes off Jonathan Pierce. So it's hard for me to get that out of my head. You know what I mean? And so I got to think someone of Moraes' caliber beats Pierce. But I don't know if he scores well in the process.
Yeah, I think that's great, because I'm doing my research. Somebody made fun of me in the comments a couple videos ago for me saying doing my research and going back and looking at the game logs. That is my research. But yeah, doing my research here, the highest score for him was 74. So I can completely agree with you there. Doesn't look like he's scoring too well consistently here. Moraes 22.3% and Pierce 21.5. And I start out every single MMA video, every single breakdown by going over the benchmark percentages. Basically, the top 6 highest owned. Anybody below that's going to be more of a GPP play. That way we can just direct back to the benchmark ownership here. So that benchmark percent ownership, Kevin, is going to be 33.2. So anybody below 33% going to be more of a GPP play and considered low owned in our eyes.
Okay.
So yeah, both those guys, the first two are going to be very low owned, 22.3 and 21.5 for Pierce.
There's some potential there. I don't hate it. Moving on, we got Semelsberger versus Sano. Kind of weird seeing Semelsberger as such a heavy favorite, Matt. We haven't seen any of that pricing before, I don't believe. He scores super well, as you can see in his
does.
previous 2 wins. What did he score in his last 2 wins?
126 and 102.
Pretty damn impressive.
Yeah.
I'll mark him as green just because it's a great pace to him. Hits very hard. I hate his price. I do like his line and his scoring potential, but we just watched 2 super expensive fights, Matt. Not trying to get recency bias here, but we just watched Blanchfield and Jackson on a huge slate, bigger slate, and 2 very expensive fighters just make the optimal. So it can happen. I mean, if he scores 120 something like he did in his last fighter's fight previously, like you got to assume he's making the optimal.
Yeah, 100%.
But I don't. This is interesting. Sano, he's quite a perplexing sign by the UFC, Matt. He was 0-1 in the World Series of Fighting, 0-1 and 1 in Bellator, and now he gets a shot on the biggest stage in fighting. So that's kind of odd. I don't love him. We'll probably avoid him. There's one shining light in Sano's career, and this was a long time ago. I think this was like 8 years ago, 10 years ago, but he did actually submit Jeff Neal in his second professional MMA fight. Jeff Neal is a super quality win, especially for someone who really hasn't done shit like Sano after that. It won't tip the scales for me, but it's just an interesting tidbit that he beat someone of that high caliber.
Right.
But I still think Semelsberger.
So if Sano wins this, will he make the optimal? I guess is my question. He for sure will. So the only reason I asked that is because his ownership, again, catches my eye. 5% at 6.8 K, so we're looking at a 13% chance, 16% chance to win this thing at 5% ownership. Again, there's some leverage there. If you're MMAing, I would say go ahead and include him in your player pool. Semelsberger, 31.7, so still leverage potential there, Kevin. This fight as a whole is very low owned.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the finish chance. It has not been posted. I didn't have it posted.
Probably scared too.
Wrote this up.
Yeah,
I didn't. Yeah, probably scared. So yeah, it's still not up. So,
but we'll have that up come Saturday morning, guys.
Maybe. I don't know if that'll ever come. It's just to be honest, I checked, 3 days ago, 2 days
Wonder
ago,
why
1
that
day
is.
ago right now. Oh, yeah, it's only fight. It's weird. It's been, this isn't a new fight. It's been on here for a while now. But anyway, next, speaking of new fights, we have Maximov versus Cody Brundage. Interesting fight. So this is a fight with a pullout, Matt, that almost doesn't even have leverage anymore. Like, it's crazy. What is Brundage's line? Do you have it there?
Yeah, plus 115.
Plus 115. Okay. So he's plus 115. Maximov is what? Plus 140, 150?
140, yep.
Okay. Maximov is like 8K, and Brundage with the new pricing, they actually did add him late, and he's 7,700. This is almost like a normal fight at this point.
It almost is, yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
I mean, technically you are saving some salary, so I will give it that, but...
Yep, a little bit of salary saver on Maximov. So I will say that. And I guess Cody too, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, Maximo's 6-0. He'll be a love lister. I think he's going to be chalky still.
Yeah, I agree.
Brundage just got pricing at 7,700, so it's almost like a normal fight, as I just said. If you want to take him, I don't hate it. But I do think Maximov is a little bit better. He's a better value, and he's going to be chalkier. So I'll say yes for cash for him.
Okay, so are you greenlighting both these fighters in general?
What? You don't have ownership on Brundage, do you?
I do not. That's funny that you know that. Yeah.
I just assumed because it was so late.
Right.
Yeah, I'll greenlight both because I do think Brundage is going to be under-owned.
And Maximov is in that cash category, and that's before the pullout, I'm assuming. So he probably will be one of the chalkier guys, Kevin. Just FYI.
Wow. Okay.
I'm using my experience here. I do think he's going to be a little bit on the chalky side.
No, I do too. Like I said, it's still value. 8K at minus 150 is still value. Like if this was a normal fight and that's all I saw, I'd be like, that's value. That's cash,
I agree. Yep.
Moving on, we got Medic and Turner. Another awesome fight here, Matt, with Medic and Turner. I took both these guys in their last UFC fights, and they both did awesome. They're both easy love listers for me. Medic is undefeated as a pro at 7-0, 7 finishes, makes him the rightful favorite here. Turner has had his ups and downs in the UFC, but has big power, put away ability. I wouldn't expect this one to go to a decision, Matt, with both of these guys having 100% finish rates. So I don't think you need to overthink this one. Great pricing, awesome fight, minus 190 finish chance.
Reflective in the ownership as well. 34% ownership in the slight favorite here with Medic and Turner, 30.4, so right below that cusp. But combined wise, this looks like a very high owned fight, and it looks like the public is also targeting this, Kevin.
Yeah, I figured this would be a kind of chalky fight just because it's so obvious on paper with the pricing and the finish chance here.
Right, yeah. You got to have a piece of this fight, it looks like.
Yeah.
Yep.
I wouldn't fade, which is this one second? I just want to check something.
Sure.
I couldn't remember if this was lightweight or lightweight fight. So yeah, they're lightweights.
Oh, I could have told you that. I'm sorry.
So no, my bad. I just want to make sure. Yeah, Medic and Turner. I mean, it's just, I don't know. Sometimes like there is obviously a pecking order here where there's a higher finish chance at the higher weights. You know what I mean? So if you're really just hunting finish chance, like I've seen fights, flyweights, the 125 pounders that are like minus 190 or minus 200, and it still scares me a little bit just because knowing the typical finish rates, even if the guys
And they
fighting
don't punch as hard.
killers.
Right?
What'd you say?
They just, I mean, scientifically, they don't punch as hard. Like that's
No,
just
they
how
don't
it
punch
is.
as hard.
Right?
That's the thing. Like, and that's the thing. Like, and they're so talented and quick, and most of them come up through grappling and wrestling. And it's like, so it's like the submissions aren't usually as prevalent. I mean, it's almost like they're too good.
Right.
So it's like, you don't see as many finishes, but and then obviously with the power discrepancies you're talking about. But yeah, I was just curious. Moving on, we got Roxanne Monaferry versus Taya Santos. Random fact just to scare you guys away from Taya Santos. Monaferry has not had more than 2 consecutive wins or losses.
Are you being sexist again?
I mean, I'm talking up Monaferry, kind of. Yeah, so yeah, I am sexist because Monaferry's actually a dude. But
Man. I'm not cutting any of this. Guys, we're shooting it straight here. We're Barstool. Like, if you get offended, get away. If you don't want stats, get away.
This is it. This is what this is what you paid for, and by paid for I mean you didn't pay for it all.
Exactly.
So Monaferry, again, hasn't had more than 2 consecutive wins or losses.
I see that.
In 19 fights. And that's over 10 years too. So over
That's
her
crazy.
last 10 fights, she's been on a win-loss trajectory. Pretty weird. If that's something you believe in, then she's due for a win, and because she's coming off a loss. I don't really get into that shit. I just think it's funny.
I was about to say, yeah, I don't really follow that pattern, but yeah.
No, not at all. I just think it's interesting. Some people do like care a lot about that stuff. I'll say Monaferry is a slate breaker. We saw her beat Macy Barber. You know, she's tough. She has experience in the skill set. I don't know how many fights she has now, but it's a lot. She's a vet. Has good jiu-jitsu, very good jiu-jitsu. This is a stylistic contrast in styles matchup here, where Santos is definitely more prominent in the striking department. Monaferry's more of a grappler. That said, I think Santos absolutely fucks Monaferry up. I would be very surprised if she doesn't. I don't think Monaferry can hang on her feet with Santos. Santos is actually a very good fighter in my opinion. I'll mark Santos green. I'll mark Roxanne yellow just because she has that ability and can break the slate. But I do think Santos is, I don't love her pace, Matt. So this is interesting. But I just think she has such an advantage. What's the ownership here?
It's low. It's very low, and the public's being sexist now.
Then I'll keep Santos green. Yeah, they're being sexist now.
Yeah.
I'll keep Santos green.
20.3 and Monaferry is 10.8. So, combined ownership wise, it's just it looks like a leverage fight. It really does.
I don't love it just because Roxanne is tough to put away, and Santos, like I said, doesn't score great in decisions. But I just don't see a world where Monaferry can come close to hanging with Santos on her feet. I mean, Santos could really light her up. I mean, Monaferry's sometimes she plays the role of a punching bag, and Santos can capitalize on that in a decision.
Vegas is giving this a 19% chance for Monaferry to win this. Do you believe in that? I feel like it's a bit high based on everything you just said.
Just because of what I've seen Monaferry do to good fighters, yeah. She's so hot and cold. I've watched her a long time. I watched her on The Ultimate Fighter. She looks great sometimes. She looks terrible sometimes. I thought she looked pretty bad against Lauren Murphy. She looked awesome against Macy Barber. It's just, you don't know which Roxanne you're going to get. She's a wild card.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, I don't hate that. Moving on, we got Shamil versus Chris Dawkis. This is an interesting one, man. A big love list here. Chris has been a love lister in all 3 of his UFC fights. Taken him in all 3 of his fights, all 3 times in knockouts. He's been awesome. Dude cranks, and we absolutely loved him. He's a very polished heavyweight striker. He's very technical. Shamil has big power too, a little more wrestly, but not by much. He's a vet with some big names under his belt. He's beaten Tybura, Arlovsky, Walt Harris, etc. I think he's live. I do like Dawkis more from what I've seen from him, just because he's been lights out. He's significantly younger, has been active, where Shamil hasn't fought in 2 years. Both will be love listers, though, especially at a minus 200 finish chance in the pricing.
I'm honestly surprised this fight isn't as high owned as it's supposed to be here, because the pricing makes sense. They're both under 30%,
more so Dawkis.
Well, yeah, I was about to say Dawkis at 32. He's still on that cusp. I would expect him, based on everything you said, especially with the pricing, to be closer to 35, 40.
What was his last 3 scores, Matt?
They're crazy. Again, this is the reason why I'm saying it's 104, 140, 127. He hasn't scored under 104.
Are you dumb?
Right.
I don't get it. That makes no sense.
Yeah, and Shamil should also be in the optimal if he does well. I guess he has scored pretty poorly, even in wins. But I mean, they haven't been horrible.
He still has a decent finish percentage here. Let's see. He still has a finish rate
94-65. That was decision. What's the finish rate in this fight?
Minus 200.
Oh, minus 200. So we're looking at finish chances here. We're looking at 94-102, and that's it. The two fights where he's finished.
I'm guessing Arlovsky and Hamilton and Harris weren't great, but against Tybura, I'm guessing he scored pretty well. Chase Sherman, he definitely scored well on. You're hoping for a finish on his side, where
right.
I mean, you're gonna get a finish out of this one either way. I do think Dawkis probably puts him out. Dawkis is a
Okay.
monster, bro.
In that case, I really like Shamil's ownership at 12.8. That seems so darn
Really
low.
low.
That's
That is low.
very low.
He's got the veteran experience. Who's an Abu Dhabi Grand Prix champion, might have an advantage on the ground. I know Dawkis has some low key grappling too. I don't know. This is an interesting one.
Be a slate breaker for sure. It looks like
Could be a slate
Dawkis might
breaker.
be a little bit on the chalkier side. If he loses, well, looks like a lot of people are turning off their TVs.
Yep, 100%.
All right.
Moving on, we got Dan Hooker versus Nasrat Hackperest. Initial reaction and eye test, Matt. I'm gonna take some stances in this one, kind of like I don't know if you noticed, I've been kind of taking some stances. Like I think Santos fucks her up. I think Dawkis fucks him up. I think Dan Hooker wins this fight. I'm not gonna say fucks him up, but initial reaction, Hooker is just a better fighter and a tier above Hackperest. I know Hackperest has done very well, but seeing both these guys fight a lot, and my gut reaction is Hooker is more well-rounded, an elite fighter, and his kickboxing is what impresses me. I know Hackperest is a stand-up guy. This fight will stay standing. I'm assuming just by their styles.
Okay.
But I don't know. Hooker's beat some really good guys, Matt. He's beaten Iaquinta. He's beaten Gilbert Burns, with his only losses in the last 4 years being to Poirier, Chandler, and Barboza.
Good.
So
Yeah.
I think I don't know. I'll green light both. I can't even green light yellow light Hackperest. Gonna originally I do like Hackperest as green, just because he is so good in on his feet. He's got big power, but I just think Hooker's a tier above right now. I really do.
Yeah, Nasrat hasn't really scored the best.
Yeah, he most of he's one of those deceptive guys. You look at him on a surface level, he's got a lot of finishes, but they were all outside the UFC. He hasn't done amazing in the UFC. You know what I mean? So you know what? I'm going with my gut. I'll keep him yellow. I keep switching back and forth. I had him yellow originally.
I agree with the yellow call. And Dan Hooker, green, is that what you what you can? Okay. So you'll love to hear this then. Nasrat's actually higher owned than Hooker. They're both relatively low. I'm assuming because of the price tag only. $7,500, 22.2% owned on Nasrat, and Hooker 16.3. So talk about leverage there.
Dude, no. Yeah, do you remember the Hooker fight with Poirier?
I don't, Kevin. I'm going to be honest.
I'm going to scare people. I'm going to scare the shit out of people right now. Ready?
Okay.
Just for people on Nasrat. And I don't hate Nasrat. I just think Hooker and Poirier, you know how good Dustin Poirier is, obviously. UFC champion, beat McGregor, just beat him twice. Like, very, very good fighter. Their fight was 5 rounds. Dustin Poirier won total strikes by...
I see it.
26. Hooker won significant strikes by 2, and Hooker took him down 3 more times. That was a very close fight, if you remember it. It was an amazing fight. One of my favorite fight nights in a long time. Hooker's at that level. That's my point. Hooker's at that level. So I don't quite understand why Hackperest is getting this much love. I know he's beaten some tomato cans, but I don't know. That's me. That's hard stance.
Yeah, well, good to take hard stances here. Minus 150. Vegas is giving Hooker a 60% chance to win this thing, so 60-40. And I think the ownership's low here. I think there's great leverage potential.
Yeah, if Hackperest comes out and lights him up, I will fucking...
You'll be wrong.
Eat some crow. Oh, yeah, I'll absolutely take my L there. Marlon Moraes versus Merab Dvalishvili next. This one's a doozy, Matt. You know, I don't need to go into much detail. You guys know my favorite DFS player in general is Merab, like in any sport. Merab's my favorite DFS player, just straight up. So,
Aaron Jones. All right, that's fine. Not
Aaron Jones, yeah. Run Merab. I was going to say it could be Henry after last week, but Merab, take him, load him. I'm going to put him in core every single time he fights. Marlon Moraes, I get he's a green light. If he wasn't fighting Merab and he was this pricing, I'd probably say he's in a good spot. Just knowing how elite Marlon Moraes is, a truly elite striker, Matt. Truly elite striker, and I think you can still keep him green just for that potential. Not saying he couldn't catch Merab and knock him out. Absolutely. Probably has the advantage on his feet, but Merab's on a different world on the ground. So I think Merab is, at 8,900, holy shit.
Yeah,
man.
that's a very good price tag too.
Holy shit.
And
he's going to break the slate.
Merab's chalky. I think you can assume that too, Kevin. 34.3 and Moraes 14.3. So that's also very low. I think that makes sense though, based on everything you just said.
What was the highest? I've heard it before, but I love hearing it. What was the highest Merab ever scored in a fight?
Merab's the highest score he's ever scored.
And this was before the new scoring system.
148.
So.
Yeah, 148.
Yeah. 148. Yeah, he probably would have cleared. I want to know what he would have cleared.
And that was in 3 rounds again.
3-round fight.
Yeah, 3 rounds.
140. Gross. Yeah. So yeah, Merab's a freak. Moving on, we got Jessica Andrade versus Cynthia Calvillo. We know one thing about Andrade, and that she can finish fights and she cracks and can knock out anyone. So that will make her an auto green just at 9K. She has big power, bull in a china shop when she fights. She's also been finished a fair bit, which bodes well for Calvillo. That said, the finish losses were to some serious studs: Valentina, Wiley Zhang, etc. I think Calvillo is good. She's not that good. I just am going to have to mark her yellow right now. She has looked great for the most part in her time in the UFC. She's got a record of 6-2-1 there. She has fought some decent names too and beat most of them. She lost her last fight to Chukagian, but it was a very close fight. What's the ownership here, Matt?
Jessica's 28, which is pretty low, and Cynthia is 17.7. So combined ownership wise, this is not intriguing. What's very intriguing for GVP, but not for cash.
Yeah, it's got potential, Matt. I mean, Calvillo's tough. She's a good fighter. Andrade can finish. I see some potential here.
I was about to say. I mean, all these. The scores for the price tags would be a slate breaker for sure here. I'm looking. I mean, not to sway your opinion here, but Jessica, when she wins, looks like her floor is 100. So
no, that's what I'm saying.
98.
I greenlighted her. Yeah, I'm for Andrade. I'm team Andrade.
Okay,
like, she finishes people. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Cynthia. I mean, she's hit or miss, but yeah, I'm cool with the yellow.
That's why she's yellow. Right. She's yellow for me. So, but
ownership wise, yeah, plenty of leverage. Love that.
Dude, Andrade cracks, bro. She can knock out like most men.
Yeah.
she
I'd let her knock me out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Stop. That sucks.
Okay.
Moving on, we got Curtis Blades versus Jared Zinho Rosenstroke. I hate his name so much. That's why I call him Biggie Boy. I just go by his nickname. But another banger here. Obvious love lister, -200, Matt. Curtis Blades, 9,200, which is actually a little cheaper than we've seen him in the past. Takedown clinic guy. First time not in a 5-round fight in a while, which, can't get quite the volume he usually gets, but absolutely can clear. And, probably get a lock. Odds are this fight goes, Curtis Blades takes him down 2 or 3 times and finishes him, which will make him score very well. Or Rosenstroke puts the lights out, as we just saw Derek Lewis do. It can happen. We did just see fat Derek Lewis knock him out with 1 punch, so it can happen. I'm probably gonna have 100% on this fight, Matt, knowing both these guys should score very well in a win, because I don't see a world where like Rosenstroke wins, he makes optimal, that's it. Blades wins, there's no way he's not racking up at least some takedowns. He has that wrestling.
Well, then you'll love to hear the ownership. I think because of the price tags is making it kind of awkward here, because this is a pretty steep price tag here on Blades, $9,200, 25.9% Kevin, which is below that cusp. Rosenstroke 15.5. I think you love to hear the ownership on both those guys.
Yeah, I know there's been a lot of 5-rounders here, but what is Blades' worst score in a
worst score as a winner?
Yes.
In a decision. Well, this was
he's ever lost.
Wait, am I saying this right? Did he actually score 172 against Volkov?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes. He did. Against who?
Volkov.
I'll tell you why. I think he had, was it 11? 14 takedowns. So yes, he did. That's 14.
I think we've seen something close to 200, but I think that's the highest I've seen in a while. All right.
Yeah, that's fucking bananas.
Anyway, back on track. That was 172, and that was a decision. 104. We have 133. 73. 73 was his lowest. That was against. Yeah. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. I'm not even going to. But
okay. Yeah. There's. I mean, a lot of those are 5-rounders.
Yep.
So for some context. But yeah, I'm looking at the fight you're talking about against Daniel Omialunzik. Yeah. Dude, that's the thing. Curtis Blades he proclaims to be the best wrestler at heavyweight. That's his thing. Love to give him that, but he's not. I mean, maybe he is by default because everyone sucks at wrestling. But like in that fight against Daniel, Matt, he was 0-13 for his takedowns. And I think Curtis Blades is the kind of guy, he can take down tomato cans who don't have good wrestling defense. Like Volkov is an amazing fighter, but he's a bad wrestler. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Junior Dos Santos has better wrestling defense. Curtis Blades was 0-6 on takedowns. 3 on Derek Lewis, who's been working on his wrestling. Like he can light people up who aren't that great at wrestling, but he's not Daniel Cormier, you know what I mean, where he's matchup proof. But I do think Rosenstroke is someone he can probably put it on a bit. So I do like this fight.
I love the ownership more. Let's move on.
Yep. Moving on, we got Nick Diaz versus Robbie Lawler. My God, man.
Right, here we go.
Bane of my existence, these fucking fights. It's a cool fight for fans. I'm going to have fun watching it, but it's a stupid meme fight, man. It's a gimmick fight that sucks for DFS. It sucks. I hate it. There's always the potential that one of these senior citizen morons actually makes the optimal, and that's the part that's wicked annoying. Like, it's ridiculous. How old are they each now? It's like they're both like 40. Robbie Lawler's like 39.
I mean, I know the name Nick Diaz, and that's how you know it's bad, so.
Yeah.
And Lawler.
They've been around for a long time.
I've heard the name. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean, this is a rematch, Matt. 17 years in the making. I don't know if you know that.
It is.
These guys
I did
fought
not know
17 years ago with Nick Diaz being the winner. Robbie Lawler hasn't won a meaningful fight, Matt, since 2016. He's currently on a 4-fight loss streak. And Nick Diaz is somehow worse, as he is someone who literally hasn't won a fight in a decade, and he's only fought 3 times during that span. So
All right.
he's 0-3 in the past 10 years.
Again, I'm coming in as a casual fan here, and I just need to know the answer to like this basic question.
Can you tell my fucking disdain for this fight, by the way?
Yeah,
I hate it.
So Fantasy Cruncher has loaded in scores from I don't know how they did
1996.
this. No, I'm not even kidding. 2003,
like,
2002. The name of UFC 47 was "It's On!" Exclamation point. Why is that a thing? Like, why do they name it such corny names?
It's
UFC like Nickelodeon
back in the day. It would be like UFC 33, Revenge Time.
I see
like,
that. Vendetta. It's as real as it gets. High Impact. Like, are these names of like esports teams? Like, what's going on? What's going on?
This is how they used to do it. And everyone used to get up, and they'd have the opening would be like some gladiator in an arena, and it's actually wicked nostalgic. And now I'm getting sad because I used to love that. Yeah, because I'm old.
Yeah.
This is where their heydays, Matt, when they fought. I mean, Robbie Lawler was a little more recent, obviously, with his run in probably 2013 to 15 ish when he had some big fights. But I don't know, Matt. How is anyone going to break this fight down between these guys who don't fight? You know what I mean? Like, I'll say this. Nick Diaz looked like absolute shit from the videos I've seen him. And as of late, fight got moved from welterweight to middleweight per Diaz request. When that happened, the line shifted and Lawler actually became a heavier favorite. You don't ask for a weight change unless something's going on, unless you're having trouble making the weight, this, that, and the other thing. Lawler's a cool dude. He's like, that's weird. Sure, let's go to middleweight. But I as much as Diaz is a sniper, let me put it this way. Diaz was a sniper, Matt, when he fought, not, a decade later. I don't know what he's going to look like now. I don't know what Robbie Lawler's going to look like now. Last thing I remember of seeing Robbie Lawler was him getting absolutely lit the fuck up by Kobe Covington for like 400 punches and being choked by Ben Askren. That's the last things I remember of Robbie Lawler. Nick Diaz, last thing I literally think of when I think of Nick Diaz was his title fight against GSP like 10 years ago. Like, it's ridiculous. I just hate this fight. But it could make
it looks like I'm going back in time right now.
Yeah, I got a green light both. I got a green light both.
You got a green light. Okay. Interesting.
Sadly, the pricing's crazy, and like someone I think is going to probably have a distinct advantage. Like, there's so many variables in this fight. Like, someone could be significantly fresher, and just take over. Like, I see that potential.
Well,
like we saw with Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell the third time they fought. Tito has been a little more trained up, and Chuck Liddell tried to make that little comeback, and Chuck Liddell luckily he hadn't fought his life. Like, you know what I mean? It was terrible. I hated it, but.
Ownership looks good on both these fighters too. Lawler at 25.6 and Diaz at 23.2. So
it's just so much volatility. Volatility is the number one name of the game for GPPs, Matt.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I hate as much as I hate it.
Yeah, I think they're both low, but combined ownership wise, it looks like the public is also wanting to watch this fight. So
yeah, it's a fun fight. I'm really excited as a fan. Don't get me wrong, but DFS no. Moving on, Valentina Shevchenko versus Lauren Murphy. Hard stance here. Murphy is the most red light I've ever had in my life. It's not hard stance. I mean, it's not like impressive.
I was about to say, I'm looking at the line. What do
you
mean hard
stance? But I'm just saying, like, let me put it this way. Sometimes you give it a glimmer of hope to these people, like, just because of what we've seen.
Sure.
Especially, we've seen multiple women fights at minus 1,000 favoritism, like the Macy Barber fight. And then there's another one. There's one I always forget. I cite it, and I always forget who it was. There's a minus 1,000 who I locked for cash, and she lost. And I was like, okay. But, yeah. I mean, Valentina Shevchenko is just going to destroy Lauren Murphy. I don't even think Lauren Murphy's good. Like, I really never have. So I'm just going to big red light her anyway. And now she's fighting Shevchenko, who hasn't lost to anyone not named Amanda Nunes in the last 11 years. So I'll fanboy this. I'll casual it. And I'll just say Valentina's green for cash, assuming she's going to eat a lot of ownership.
Yeah.
Again, we saw the 9,500 fighter make optimal last week, so it's possible.
I'd say especially based on her scores. Yeah, 100%. Shevchenko is 41% of the second highest in the slate. And again, it's the combination of her being a $1,500 favorite and it looks like the scoring, favorite, their box score watching. It's just there's no shot that she shouldn't make the optimal. Honestly, if there's a couple upsets here on this card, she should be one of the higher scoring people on the slate. So I will say that.
100%.
Yep.
I love Shevchenko every time. So moving on. So Matt, I'm gonna take a hard stance on the main event here. I'm gonna go. I know we talked about this earlier. The Patreons are splitting right now on who they. A hard stance. Volkanovski wins this fight. And I'm going 100% Volkanovski. I'm not saying Ortega doesn't have a chance, Matt. But here's the thing. I think the line's wrong. I think it's skewed. I think Volkanovski should be a minus 250 for that chance. For that factor, I'm going 100% on Volkanovski. I just think he's 100% the better fighter here. Not saying, again, Ortega can't win. It's a fight. Anyone can win. Ortega's super tough. But yeah, if I was a line maker, I'd have Volk at minus 250 to minus 300. I think this is a 2-horse division, Matt. I think Max and Volk are 1A and 1B with the obvious edge to Volkanovski for beating Max twice, but super close fights. Max hasn't, like, I'm gonna cite Max here for a bit. Not that common opponent is everything, but Max hasn't lost at featherweight, Matt, since 2014, aside from Volkanovski, and has beaten everyone, including Ortega, Cater, Edgar, Aldo twice, Charles Oliveira, the current lightweight champion. Max fucking destroyed Brian Ortega, Matt, when they fought. It was a couple years ago, but he fucking destroyed him, like demolished him. And Volkanovski just beat Max twice. We just saw how good Max is when he fought Cater too, like the level he's on. No one can touch Max except Volkanovski. I think Volkanovski is just that good. I know common opponent isn't everything, as I just said, but and I keep mentioning those two, but I think there's heads and tails above everyone else. I don't think Ortega ever catches Volkanovski and subs him, which is Ortega is great on the ground, but you got to think this fight stays standing. I don't think he's ever going to. Volkanovski has a pretty good wrestling background. I don't think he's going to get him down. And if he doesn't, I just don't see a world where Ortega beats Volkanovski on his feet. If Volkanovski can outpace or be very close with Max Holloway on his feet, there is no shot in hell Brian Ortega beats him on his feet. I just don't see it. I mean, like I said, not to cite this fight, but if you look up Max Holloway versus Brian Ortega, Matt, yeah, dude, Max Holloway landed almost 300 significant strikes on him. Like,
yeah,
it was a wash. It was an absolute shellacking. So, yeah, I don't know. That's my hard stance.
All right.
100% of Volkanovski at 8,600. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
It's a joke.
Here's my question. You know, I ask it every time. Is it stackable?
Yeah, I'm gonna say it. Yeah, I think it's stack potential. I'll say that. I'm not like green light stack 100%. I think it's stack potential because I could see this lasting a while. I could see Volkanovski not putting him away. And Ortega in 5 rounds is, you know, definitely, he's in great shape, so I think he's fine.
So the reason I asked is because the price tags are ticking me off yet again, because why is Volkanovski $8,600? It makes no sense to me. So
that's so cheap for him, dude.
Right. So it's skewing his ownership. He's the highest owned, obviously, and Ortega is the benchmark, Kevin. So 33.2 is also in that cash category. The reason I ask is it stackable? It looks like it makes sense from your perspective, from ownership and salary, and it seems like I'm losing my voice. This is a good time to pitch it back to you, Kevin. Let's hear the core, GPP, and pump, please.
Absolutely. So Volkanovski, what's Volkanovski's last scores, by the way? Not to put you back on the hot seat with your voice.
Yes, 102, 84, 80. Well, do you want me to read the 5 rounders or the 3?
5 rounders, just 5 rounders.
102, 94. That's it. Yep. So.
Oh, interesting. That's not
still
great,
still enough to make the optimal.
But his only 5s were Holloway, right?
Holloway, yep.
So there you go. I mean, this should not be
right.
Holloway. But you know, that's definitely obvious. I'm actually surprised it's not higher, but still great. But yeah, core play, Valentina, safest pick on the card for cash. Maximov, crazy ownership, and then Volkanovski, I think he's a level above and awesome pricing. I'm going to take all those 3 for cash if I can get them in there. GPPs, Medic and Turner, 18 for 18 for finishes between these two with great pricing. Chris Dawkis, 3-0 in the UFC with 3 knockouts. Yes, please. Marab, next topic, just talked about him. Blades, high ceiling with wrestling and still a good finisher. And punts will be Shamil, minus 200 finish chance. Still has that ability. 5-3 UFC record. You said he's got low ownership, Matt. Rosenstroke, big power. Blades can get caught.
Yep.
So
there you go. That will be the final, the final thing to our breakdown here, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy this content. If you did, please do hit that subscription button, notification bell, and of course smash that like button for all of our future MMA content. With all that being said, have a great rest of your night, and let's cash.